Hello and welcome to Cask Theology, a channel about theology and beer. In today's episode, we're off to Belgium to try out one of its most iconic beers, the Lambic. As always, we'll start off with a bit of Lambic's history, and then we'll go into some of the detail of what separates it from other beers. Finally, we'll pop open a few bottles of Lambic so you can recognise it when you see it. So, without further ado, let's all go grab a drink as we ask the question, what is Lambic? Well, as I mentioned, Lambic is a beer from Belgium, but it actually goes much deeper than that. It's a beer that can only be brewed in Belgium. Now, in my Brown Ale episode, I mentioned that Newcastle Brown had had its status protected because of the water in the area, which gave it its unique flavour. And this is the same for Lambic, but on a much more extreme level, and that's down to the brewing process that's used. Lambic is not brewed using the modern techniques that produce most beers today. And in fact, it uses the brewing techniques that would have been around before the innovations in the 1700s. Today's beers have their processes carefully controlled at every stage, but with Lambic, they let nature take its course for part of it. This is why it can only be brewed there, because they use the wild yeast that is native to the area, and they utilise unique bacteria of the region to aid the brewing process. In fact, there are only certain times it can be made during the year, because they have to take into account the changes in seasonal biology. So in short, Belgium itself is part of the brewing process. In terms of recipe, it's still made from most of the usual stuff, malt and water and some wheat. However, once the wort is made, it's left to cool off and it's exposed to the elements, letting in all the little microbes that will then work their magic and create this unique beer. Fruit is also sometimes used in the mix to create some interesting beers, tasting of things such as raspberry, strawberry, cherries, or even bananas. So, now we know what Lambic is, let's go and have a look at some Lambics in action. Hello and welcome back. I've got 3 Lambics to show off today. Now, my usual rule of thumb is that you should be able to buy all of these beers that I show off from a local shop or supermarket. But Lambic, by its very nature, it's not like lager or bitter. They don't produce it in tons of amounts. So if you're going to get some for yourself, you've got 2 options. You've got the really expensive option, which is you go to Belgium and you go and buy it there. Or you've got the non-expensive option, which is the one I took, and that's to get it from a local craft ale shop. And that's what I did. I am told that you can get these from Waitrose as well, but they do say that they have limited stock on their website, so that's worth a mention. You could probably get them off the web as well, so you'd have to go to a beer specialist online. So there's one Lambic producer I've got to mention, and if I don't mention them, I'm going to get lots of comments from Lambic lovers, and that's the Cantelon Brewery in Brussels, and they do the premium Lambic stuff. These are the big boys. You are not going to be able to get this in somewhere like Waitrose or somewhere like Tesco. You're not going to get it because they sell very few bottles of these things. It's like I said, it's premium stuff. I looked it up and it was about 20 quid a bottle, so that's way out of the Cask Theology beer budget. So I suppose we better get on with this then. I got these 3 beers that I've got from the Crafty Bottle in Lincoln, because I'm in Lincolnshire. So thanks to the guys, especially Susie there, who helped me out and helped me to get these 3. And she gave me 3, which were the Kriek boon, the Bourgeon de Flanders, and the Gers boon, and straight away a heartfelt apology to all those Belgians out there for completely murdering the names of these beers. I'm so sorry. I'm so English. So I'm going to pour these in strength order. And there's a very good reason for that. And that's that one's 4%, that one's 5%, and that one's 7%, because Lambic can range quite a bit. And I'm going to admit right now to you that I have never really tried Lambic. So you guys get the Cask Theology first time exclusive experience. So this could go either well or poorly. So, quick note before I pour this one about glassware. Now, Belgium is a different beer culture to the UK. We like a nice pint, we like to swig it, we like to quaff it. Belgians a bit more chilled out, and they like glassware for the right beer. You know, over there they'll have a head on their beer like that. That wouldn't sit in England. I've met folks that have gone over Belgium and they can't believe that. Oh my gosh, the head was that big. Not like us Brits, we like it like that, or if you're in London, like that. So, with that said, these are the only ones that I could get that were the nearest. So, with all the housekeeping out the way, let's start with the Kriek boon. Again, sorry for mispronouncing that. Now this is a lambic that has been made with cherry, so this is one of the fruit lambics. It's, as I mentioned, it's 4%, and you'll notice a 2017 on there, because lambic's a bit like wine, because you'll notice there's a little cork on the top instead of a bottle cap, and that's because, like wine, some people like to let them stew for a bit before they'll drink them. I mean, I've heard podcasts and things where people have bought like a 2012 and then opened it sort of like 5 years later as a compare and contrast sort of thing. So we're going to go open this Kriek boon now. Now you'll notice this is, well, let's just have a look at this lovely little cork up there. It's just like you'd find on a Prosecco bottle or something like that. So let's grab hold of this glass, right, Faith, and we're going to undo this little thing here. Just tease that off gently. There you go, you're getting a lesson on how to open these as well. So grab hold of this thing very firmly, because you don't want it to go anywhere. Make sure your hand's right on there. Now, 45 degrees is the perfect for lagers. It's also the perfect for these. So you give it a twist, and if you do it at 45 degrees, very carefully, you'll hear that whoo, instead of a big pop. And there we go, the cork is out. Now 45 degrees, we do that because that also seems to be the optimum not exploding all over your hand angle. So let's give this Kriek boon a pour, and we shall see what a cherry lambic looks like. Ooh, look at that. Now straight away, this looks like it almost, I mean, look at that head. It almost looks kind of like a fruity cider, doesn't it? But it's not a fruity cider because it's not brewed in the same way. It is actually a beer, because cider is just using the main fruit. This, of course, uses wheat and barley and all that good stuff. So I think I've tried something similar to this, but we're going to go and give it the Cask Theology try. Let's bring it up to the camera so you can see all those lovely red colours. You can probably, yeah, my lighting isn't amazing, but you can probably see the redness of that drink right there. Now I'm going to give it a smell and then a taste, so let's see how we get on. So, smell. Smells a bit like wine. How interesting. But what does it taste like? Let's find out. Now that is a very interesting experience. You can taste the cherries, very much so. You can very much taste the cherries. And it's got this kind of almost sort of fortified-y wine kind of feel in the mouth sort of thing. Almost like a wine, but it's not a wine, it's obviously a beer. So, I would definitely recommend that. It's slightly on the sour side. Yeah, slightly on the sour side. But for someone that doesn't like beer, this might be a good way to trick them. If they like wine or something like this might be a good jumping off point. Or if you're interested in exploring craft ale, that would be a really good starter, because that is really quite pleasant. So we're going to pop him on the back there and stick it there. And then we're going to move on to the Belgian de Flanders, which is a name I have probably murdered too many times. I'm so sorry. So, this next Lambic, it's kind of a cheat in that it's not totally Lambic. This is more of a blend. Now, the nature of Lambic is blending anyway, but this is more like a red ale that uses Lambic as like a base, and then it adds bits into just to turn it into something different. But I wasn't going to include it. I was kind of 50-50 and thought, well, I might just have to do these two. But I thought, no, it does actually have Lambic in, and it shows off a bit more of the versatility of Lambic, because although it's only brewed in a small place, there's lots of range to this stuff, as you can see. So this one is 5%, and it's a red ale. I like red ales. I'm very much a fan of red ales. If you see a red ale on in my pub, it was me that got it in. So I'm going to pop the cap open off this one, this nice little 5%, and we're going to go see. Ooh, we're going to see what this one looks like. And again, the exclusive Cask Theology tasting. So this one's a blend for a red ale. I will, of course, link all these beers down in the description. Ooh, crikey. That's why my wifey bought me this mat. Now, let's see. Now, that is quite distinctively a red ale. Well, red ales, they kind of range from being almost this kind of colour to a sort of darker, almost brown end of the spectrum. Ooh, excuse me, very burpy. Oh, the boon is definitely having its effect. So yeah, nice little head on that. That's interesting. All these are lightly carbonated as well, which is nice. So that's probably why they've got that easy-going deal. So here we go. Let's have a smell. That smells more beery than that one, but that's obvious. So let's give it a try. Ooh, now that is a very nice, unique experience. That tastes like an ale that should be savoured. It's got some very interesting flavours going on in there. It's definitely got that red ale vibe to it. So a little bit malty. It's got a distinct flavour. I can't quite place it. But it's cracking. Yeah, almost brown ale. No, not brown ale. It's quite a unique flavour. I've not had quite anything like that before. But that is, again, that's quite chilled out. That doesn't empower you and say, boom, have that. It's got this strong, punchy sort of flavour to it, which is hard to describe. I think I might need to do a bit more research on that one. But again, that's a Lambic blend, so that's the Belgian de Flanders. So, lastly, we're going to move on to the Gers, aren't we? The 7% one. There we go. Now this one was obviously brewed between 2014 and 2015, so this is maybe a blend of the 2014 and the 15, because they do blending when it comes to Lambic. They'll blend like older brews and newer brews and stick them together and brew them in casks and let all those microbes do their thing. This is a cracking lovely green bottle. I don't know how you can see through that. Well, you can see through the top there. There you go. Let's get the focus on. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can probably just make out where my thumb is. That. Now, there we go. The focus is having a field day. But you can see the little sediment at the bottom there. As I mentioned, that's because Lambic is a live product. It's bottle conditioned, and bottle conditioned means that even though it's finished brewing in the brewery, they stick it in the bottle and it's still going. It's still going, so it's still fermenting, which is another reason why people stick it in the fridge. Well, they stick it in storage. Some people stick them in fridges. So I've heard. Please correct me if I'm wrong down in the fridge. Can you have this room temp? I'm not sure. I've chilled these just to be on the safe side. I've probably committed a cardinal sin. So, last one, the Gers Boon. This one's 7%. And again, let's do the whole... This is a lovely bottle. I'm going to keep this, I think. So again, here's the how to do Prosecco. Impress the ladies, or the gents in your life, with how to be a proper barman. Ooh, slight little hiss. It's not as empowering as a Prosecco. Go on, Prosecco. It's one of the big things at the minute among the ladies, as is gin. Although, to be fair, gin is just as popular with the blokes nowadays. Right, so let's try this Gers Boon, which I'm told is more of a traditionally lambic. It's more on the plain lambic scale of things, so I'm told. The Cantillon stuff that I mentioned earlier, that is usually pure lambic, although they do boons and Gerses as well. Now this one's an interesting one, isn't it? I don't know if that's my pouring or whatever, but you can see that this is a cloudier beer, and it's got some carbonation going on in there. Very lightly carbonated. Interesting, almost pale ale-y flavour to it by the look of that. Looks really interesting, but look at the range that we've got here. So, for the last one, let's give it a sniff. That smells really interesting. That smells kind of like, it's got that kind of almost cidery smell, that kind of sour sort of, it's a kind of fruity, kind of citrusy sort of thing going on. Oh, yes, and I was not wrong. So this one is quite sour. So this is unlike unlike any beer I've had. Well, they all are. That one is quite sour on the palate. That is, oh, it's like a sour sweet. Yeah, that is quite sour, but it's not. It's kind of like a cider sour, in that it's not again like with these other flavours. They're not like, oh, you know, you'd almost expect with something that looks a bit like that to really get you in the taste buds and be quite unpleasant. But that is not an unpleasant beer to try. It's certainly different, but I think definitely Lambic is very Belgian in that. With all of these, I feel these are savouring beers. These are the kind of beers that you have at the end of a night, or after a night of work. You just sit down and chill out. These aren't your kind of neck it sessionable ones. I mean, even though these two are within the sessionable range, but that's just my opinion. There you go. That's my opinions on Lambic. Overall, I quite like Lambic. I think, yes, I'm looking forward. I have to do a bit more research, I think. So there you have it. The Belgian style of Lambic. It can be fruity, it can be blended, it can be refined a bit more. Definitely a beer to savour rather than throw down your neck. As always, links will be in the old description really for where you can get these things from, and the brewing techniques and methods, and some other bits and bobs down there. So, here's a question for you. Have you tried Lambic? Are you a Lambic lover? If you are, then do leave a comment. You know, let us know if you like Lambic. As always, thanks for watching, and keep asking those questions. I'm going to go try some more Lambics. So, yeah. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Maybe just another one of these.